Dealership said sue, so I did. So I bought a car from one of those buy here and pay here places. I love the car. It's a Mazda 5 from 2014. Basically the smallest minivan I've ever seen. Well, on Christmas, we drove to some family for dinner and celebration. When we went to leave, the car would not start. We checked everything and found out the horn wasn't even connected. Any fuse that wasn't absolutely needed was simply missing. And the tires were the original tires. Beyond that, we hooked up to the computer and it read several errors, but the one getting in the way was the immobilizer. I had never known the van had one. I called AAA and set up towing, but because we were in the middle of nowhere, AAA couldn't get a tow truck to us under our membership. So we had to call a tow truck and then submit the bill to AAA after the fact. So family let us borrow their car and the van was towed to a shop. A few days later, and the shop calls and tells us what's wrong. I live in Texas, a single-party consent state, and I record all my calls thanks to an app on my phone. The only issue they found stopping it from running is the immobilizer is active and they can't touch it without taking to the dealer. I three-way call the dealership and the shop. During this call, the dealership acknowledged we were not behind and everything should be working unless it malfunctioned, and we would be reimbursed for the towing and repairs. Both bills came to just under $300, and we started calling the dealership. The first few conversations go well, but I mostly end up getting tossed around from department to department and then disconnected. That went on for some time, and I of course took to Reddit to find out options. As almost always happens, Reddit users know some crazy facts and how to get stuff done. So I followed their advice and kept calling, eventually getting to a supervisor. And the first supervisor said he'd get it taken care of, and we ended the call. 2 more days go by and nothing is heard. So I call back, get tossed around, and then get another manager who says, "We are not responsible for mechanical issues," and hangs up. I call back, now quite annoyed, and eventually get back to the same manager. I explain I have all the information and call recordings, including the repair shop three-way call. He cuts me off and says, "What, are you going to take us to court over $300? I don't think so, but go ahead and sue. We will win, and if that small amount is worth suing to you, you probably don't have the resources to actually sue." This, of course, made me quite upset. So off to a justice of the peace and explain what's happened. They give us a small claims form and explain the process. We can fill it out and pay for a constable to serve the dealership, or fill out the paper and take it to the dealership unfiled and explain everything to a manager in person. We chose the cheaper route because the manager on the phone was right. We didn't have the money to have it served, only filed. So we transcribed the phone calls, found out how to fill out the paper, and made our way to the dealership's payment center. I wait in line and see the name of the manager is the same as the manager on the phone that told me to sue. I asked to talk to John, and he comes over and sits across from me. After making introductions, and I confirm it's the same guy, I start to explain the situation again. As I'm explaining, I see when he recalls talking to me on the phone. He starts to dismiss me, and I explain that he asked me to sue, and I'm here with all my evidence and the unfixed suit, giving him one final chance. He starts to look over the papers and asked if I still have the recordings. I said yes, I could email him a copy. We sit and talk for an hour as he reads. Then I said with a slight aggravated tone, if something isn't done today, not only am I going to head right back to the courthouse and file, as well tack on as much for emotional distress and whatever else the clerk hinted at, as well as send a copy of everything to every email on the corporate site. At this, our conversation drew the attention of a woman in a power suit who rushes over for a recap. I find out she's John's boss's boss's boss, and she's not too happy about how far things have gone. She assured me that all would be made right and gave me her cell number and email. I gave her the papers and left. The next Monday at 8 a.m., I got a call asking if credit being applied to the account would be acceptable. The payments are only $155 every 2 weeks. I agree, and we talk for a few minutes when I ask why it took this much just to get things done. She laughed and said it shouldn't have, and certain people are no longer employed at the company.